Welcome to Engagement Fundraising, where you'll learn how busy fundraisers like you are generating more major and planned gifts at lower costs. Brought to you by iMarketSmart.com, the software and services company that helps nonprofits raise more money more efficiently.
This goes on all the time. Smart people know that qualification is a key step. You can't jump right into cultivation. If you do that, it's a time-consuming and tedious process, so you might be spending a heck of a lot of money and time cultivating supporters that really shouldn't be in your portfolio, your caseload, whatever you want to call it.
Hi there, I'm Tim Chadden, Marketing Solutionist at MarketSmart. On today's episode, I sit down with Greg Warner to discuss building out a strong fundraising caseload. As you'll hear, we dive pretty deep into this topic, so I've decided to split this discussion into 2 episodes. Stay tuned next week for the conclusion of this discussion. Not sure how to build an effective caseload or what engagement fundraising is? Well, you will soon. Working.
Moo, 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 moo. Hi.
Hey, how's it going? Doing some good vocal exercises before we get started here.
Did you record that?
I did, yeah.
Me. Okay, are you ready? This is going to be probably the best podcast ever in the history of podcasting
I'm excited, yeah.
universe. Yeah.
Yeah, you're amped up. You're doing a talk next week on this.
Yeah, I am. We're talking about building caseloads and portfolios, right?
So fundraisers, they need to find donors to talk to, and they build these caseloads to do that.
Yep.
And what are the steps involved? What steps do some fundraisers skip out on sometimes for whatever reason? And yeah, just diving into all that.
Let me lay down a marker first here, because I always need to fall on my sword and make sure that people understand I'm not a fundraiser.
You're not? No.
I'm not a fundraiser.
A business?
I run a
private
business.
sector?
Private sector. That's right. I've been in sales since I was 12.
Yeah.
Right? My dad leaves the house. My mom's trying to figure out how to pay for the electricity.
Sure.
Scared me.
Yeah.
So I actually started knocking on doors asking people if I could wax their cars. I wanted to make sure I had my own money.
Yeah.
So I've been selling a long, long time. When it comes to selling with a team or a group of gift officers, or even if you're the only gift officer, you've got to build a list. The list is the most important thing, right?
Right.
And if you have a crappy list...
Crappy results.
Yeah. It's probably 80% of it.
Yeah. If you're talking to the right people, they'll be receptive to your message. If not, you'll get a lot of hang-ups or people just being polite and not...
Or, on the other hand, like I was talking to one of our customers 2 weeks ago, and she said, I think over time, this organization she was at for almost 2.5 years, she said, I think I met with about 100 people. I don't know if even maybe 2 or 3 were really, really highly qualified. Most of them love us. They adore us. They wanted to meet. They wanted to talk. I wanted to listen to them. It was great. I cried. I laughed. But were they really the type of people that could make a tremendous impact for future generations? Not really. So she spent a lot of time with people that she adored, but can't really serve the mission in the way that...
It's not friend raising, as you say sometimes.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
She was making friends.
Yeah,
she
making
didn't want to
friends.
make
Great friends.
She didn't want that, though, because she needed... So, and that's the hard part, is because you want to make friends, but you also need to be very judicious about your own time, because other donors are paying your salary to make sure that you bring in big dollars. That's your job. And you need to be a good steward of those dollars and make sure that you're meeting with the right people.
You want to make the right friends. I mean, everyone can be your friend, but, spend your time with those that can really help the cause.
Exactly. Yep.
So there's a couple different steps when you're building out your caseload. You first have to identify this huge bulk of people who has capacity. That'd be, I guess, the first step. Is that accurate?
Here, let me go backwards just for a second, because I was talking about, so I'm in the private sector and right. This happens in the private sector too.
Yeah.
Okay, it's all the same. You have to have a great list. You have to build a caseload. Here at MarketSmart, we can't serve everybody with our most expensive software and services. We just can't. The church down the street will not be able to afford us.
Yeah.
But we built something called the fundraising report card that is free for many and very inexpensive for others that want the upgraded version, right? So that's kind of a qualifier for us.
Right.
Truth be known.
Yeah.
We got thousands of people using it now. It's been less than a year or something, and all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
What's cool about that is we get to then see what their revenues are.
Sure.
So then when we know what the revenues are of the organization or institution that put in their donor dollars because they want to see their metrics and analyze them, well, that helps us qualify who we should be talking to. We have other qualifiers on our website too that you'll notice. Like we like to see if somebody is in it or considering getting involved in a capital campaign.
Yeah.
Because that's where our software really works best.
And the bigger their donor list, the better. So even if they're a less high volume nonprofit, having a huge list really helps for us to identify out of that list.
It does, but we also like small ones with small lists as long as they're passionate.
Yeah.
So it's all about quality. So we're doing it here. Everything, by the way, everything that I talk about in this podcast is the same for marketing as it is for fundraising. We're doing it here. We're trying to qualify prospects to buy from us.
Yeah.
Just as much as our customers are trying to qualify donors to give to them.
Okay.
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure, lay down that marker, because I'm not a fundraiser. You can send me nasty emails and tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. That happened when we first started the business. I took all those punches. They bloodied me. I got it.
Yeah,
I'm not a
got your
fundraiser.
Black eye a couple times.
Yeah, I got lots of black eyes. I got it. I'm not a fundraiser. But I'm going to tell you this because I've been doing this almost 10 years now. It's the same. It's the same.
Yeah.
Okay? There. I got that off my chest.
Got that.
You ready?
Got
All
it.
right. So, what was your question?
Yeah. Where do people start building out the caseloads? Start with some kind of wealth screening process. Is that where most start or should start?
Yeah. So, of course, I'm not going to answer your question yet because I want to talk about something else. I don't answer your questions.
No.
They're great questions. They really are. But I want to lay down what are the steps of the fundraising process first.
Yeah.
Okay. And again, these are similar steps to the sales process. Okay. Number one, you've got to have an identified list, a target list, prospect list, whatever you want to call it.
And this will come out of your already existing donors most of the time?
Most of the time it will.
Okay.
And it should, because they've already shown a desire to give and to make an impact through a financial transaction, not just liking you on Facebook, which isn't bad. You can find donors that way too. But people who have actually put money forth, they've got skin in the game. Once someone actually gives money, everything in life changes.
Yeah, it's a big indicator. Money is very precious to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So identifying people. And you got to think of it as the funnel. I always talk about the funnel. I know everybody in fundraising likes to talk about pyramids. I like funnels. So you've got this big group of people, and then you're probably going to use that list of donors, but it could be advocates, volunteers, other types of supporters, and you're going to try and identify who should be most likely to make a major or a legacy gift, right?
Yep.
And you've got prospect researchers, you've got wealth screening. In fact, one of the best ways historically has been to look at the recency, frequency, and monetary value of their donations. And that's like pretending to be a stock picker, because if you want to choose your next stock, you look at the past performance.
Yeah, sure. And are you trying to hit a certain number in this identification stage? Should it be a huge number or something more manageable at this stage?
At this stage, it can be, if you're doing it right, it can be a big number. It can be, but it ends up becoming frustrating for a lot of fundraisers because then, like if you work with a wealth screening or predictive modeling outfit, you're going to end up getting way too much data. And of course, they're going to put scores on it and all this, but generally speaking, it's always going to overwhelm you and you're going to wonder why the heck you did it in the first place.
Because a lot of fundraisers, they'll do identification and then they'll immediately jump to cultivating or solicitation and not do any more filtering prior to that.
Yeah, like they'll get that big list and then they'll look at the score. They're missing the most important component. If you get a wealth screening list back and you've got some scores, which are predictive algorithm or, based on whatever the wealth screening company gives you, they're going to try and predict for you the future. Okay?
Which no one has successfully really done ever.
They'll say that they can do it.
Yeah.
And the truth is, because we like these firms, we never want to say they can't. But there are better ways to enhance the data in addition to the way that they enhance the data.
Okay, yeah.
So a lot of what they do is guessing. No offense. They use algorithms and everything, and it's very, very, very smart guessing. But it's funny, like if you invest in stocks, right? What's the disclaimer that they always give you? Do you ever hear it? Do you ever read it? Do you invest in stocks?
Not currently, no. But okay. I'll hear in all the advertisements for the stock things on podcasts.
I'll tell you what it says. It says past performance is not an indicator of future success.
Yeah, I've heard that before for sure.
Why do they have that disclaimer? I'll tell you why. Is because it's not a true indicator of the success.
Yeah, because stock market will like to see growth in a company. So even if it's a really good company that's successful, if they're not growing, their stock's not going to be that good of a stock to invest in.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk to all the people that plopped down money in like 2007, the day before the crash. How did that work? How did that predictor work for them? Right?
Oh, yeah.
Look, identifying is important and necessary, and you're starting to narrow your focus. You're trying to create some predictors, and the truth is that will work. It is good stuff. The models, all that is better than doing nothing.
Yeah, it's a good starting place.
It's a good starting place. You'll probably end up overwhelmed. You'll probably not call all the people. It's too many. You will probably end up with calling the ones with the high scores. And in many cases, I've heard people scratch their heads and say to themselves, I called them, but they're not ready to talk to me. They weren't interested. So just because they're wealthy and just because their past giving history says that they're a likely indicator of future giving, maybe according to the algorithm in general, that's cool. But that particular person is like, look, I don't know you. And not only that, but you haven't gotten over the river and the valley of trust, which we'll talk about in a minute. Remind me to talk about that.
Yeah, that'll be especially true when people skip cultivation and just go right for the ask. That can happen, right?
Well, it happens a lot. In fact, I get those
messages, right?
Get them all the time. It's interesting. People will just ask me for money on LinkedIn that I've never met, and I don't care about.
They see you're a CEO. It's like, oh, we ask him for a donation.
Yeah, they send me an email, and it's like really long. And it tells the story of, everything. And at the very end, it says, can you give us $5,000? I'm like, is this insanity? Can this possibly work? I can't believe this poor fella spent all this time doing. Or I'll get an oversized mailer, an envelope, and it'll tell me to contribute $10,000 to something. Yeah, and it's a really beautiful brochure inside and a letter and all this. And I'm just like, wow, I don't even remember giving to this organization in the first place. How did I get on this list, Okay, so they skip to the solicitation. I don't know. That's nuts. I don't get it, but I think that's nuts. But people do it. Here's the thing is there's good reason for fundraisers to be impatient because their board members are impatient and their leadership is often impatient. And bottom line, there's a need out there. So their program director's impatient. Everybody just wants money. But you can't treat it like you're going to an ATM and you're going to press some buttons and out, the money comes. It just doesn't work that way.
It might work temporarily in the short term, but long term you're gonna fail miserably.
Yeah, you're gonna tick off a lot of people because it's just not the way that human beings work. You cannot walk up to somebody out on the street and say, let's get married.
Yeah, but you don't just walk up to someone even on the first day. It's nuts.
It is nuts, but I guess in fundraising they do it because they do it to me. Yeah, they'll skip right to solicitation, but otherwise they'll skip qualification and go right to cultivation.
Learn about a free resource available from us here at iMarketSmart.com in this quick break. This week, I want to encourage everyone to download MarketSmart's ultimate how-to guide for conducting nonprofit donor surveys, found at www.imarketsmart.com/survey report. This free report will help you build your caseloads by showing you why surveys uncover who has wealth and capacity, why surveys tell you who really cares about your mission, and show you how to update your donor records to clean up your database. Plus, you'll learn how to save time and improve your efficiency, inspire supporters to give more, and much, much more. Get your copy for free by going to imarketsmart.com/survey report. That's www.imarketsmart.com/survey report. With that, let's get back to the episode.
Qualification. How long has this been something people have been doing?
I mean, in sales and in fundraising, the smart people have been doing it forever.
And before technology, it was one-to-one donor visits, or what was the process?
Pretty
of
much
doing that?
telephone calls and donor visits or referrals. So the telephone calls and the donor visits were called, and still are called, donor discovery.
Okay. And so that was a very slow process of just calling everyone one by one and seeing.
Well, you've got to call them. You've got to get them on the phone. You've got to get the meeting. You've got to find a person, and there's only going to be a certain percentage that it will take your call, and then we'll start answering your questions that allow you and enable you to be able to qualify them to determine whether or not they're ready.
Okay.
I get called all the time because there's these venture capitalists and private equity firms that want to give us money.
Sure. Yeah. They
Give.
want to.
They
They
don't-
want to. They want.
they don't wanna give us money.
They want a percentage of the company.
Yeah. They're not donating. They want to invest in the company. Now I know the drill. As soon as I get the call, I'm like, okay, give me your qualification questions. Ask me the questions you want to ask me. Don't ask me all the fluffy things. And I know the drill. Give me the qualification company.
I've been pitched
and
before.
And I'll answer them. Honestly, I don't even take the calls anymore because I don't need it. I don't need the money.
Yeah. No.
I got my own money.
Yeah.
I will take your call, though, if you're philanthropic and you're a venture capitalist and you're a private equity person. Any investor in this business besides me needs to be a true philanthropist.
Yeah. The Gates Foundation.
I would take his money.
You might take their call.
I
Yeah.
might-
Talk to Bill Gates.
All right, we're going off topic. So you asked how long this has been going. This goes on all the time. Smart people know that qualification is a key step. You can't jump right into cultivation. If you do that, it's a time-consuming and tedious process. So you might be spending a heck of a lot of money and time cultivating supporters that really shouldn't be in your portfolio, your caseload, whatever you want to call it.
Now, if you're doing, what would you call it, general purpose cultivation, where you're just sending emails and seeing if they engage, is that a way to qualify, or is that considered cultivation?
Let's face it, all donors, good donors, should be cultivated to a certain degree.
Mm-hmm.
What we're talking about here is the search for the philanthropist, essentially. The major giver, the legacy giver. The person who's not being charitable, they're trying to be philanthropic. There's a difference.
Okay. Yep. So how do you go about doing that? How do you find that person?
Okay, so the way that you get into qualifying a supporter or anybody in business when there's a financial transaction at stake, you've got to talk to them in some way. That doesn't necessarily mean that you have to actually have a one-to-one conversation. You have to communicate with them, and we collect two vital pieces of information. They combine to create what I call the actionable intelligence, which helps you qualify someone for your caseload. And they are verbatims, okay? And verbatims can come from surveys, they can come from people filling out forms, they can come from telephone question and answer sessions, they can come from face-to-face, quote-unquote, interviews.
These are direct answers from the donor about your organization or about themselves.
Mostly about themselves.
Okay, yeah.
Yes, let's focus on them. It's all about them. That's actually a big mistake organizations make, is they want to know, what do you think about our organization? No. It's about, how do you want to find meaning in your life? How do you want to live on in the minds of others after you're gone? How do you want to commemorate someone that you love? What are you passionate about? What are your interests? That's what it's all about. Too often people ask questions about it's not about the organization. yet. It's about, is this person the type of person that even wants to find meaning through giving? We want to find out all about them, the interests especially, because then you can create offers that match their interests that they would like to fund because they want to make an impact. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So the verbatims and the next piece, there's two pieces. I didn't get to the second one. Verbatims and digital body language. So digital body language is what people do online, okay?
Simple enough, yeah.
It's very simple. Look, your donors are going to be, with their phone, their computer, and anything else that's digital, exponentially more than they'll ever be with you. Okay? 99.9% of the time that they are contemplating how to find meaning in their life or to engage with your or to think about your mission, whether it's your organization or some other charity that does a similar thing, they're going to do it without you. So fundraisers kind of need to accept that. And when you do, and you recognize that everybody's fiddling on their phones, I saw someone this morning that she's fiddling on the phone while she's driving, right?
Yeah.
I'm like
Very
honking the
unsafe,
horn.
yeah.
She might have had the music on loud too. Because
Sure.
She didn't hear my horn honking. She just kept going. But people are going to be fiddling with their phones and their computers and all this stuff. They're going to be engaging with this concept exponentially more on their phone or digitally than they will with you. So you've got to, of course, plug. I'm selling my product here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Just warning.
That's what we do.
This is what we do.
Yeah.
So you've got to track what your supporters who have been identified, you've got to track what they're doing online. And I recently heard somebody, sort of a competitor, not really a competitor. We don't really think anybody truly competes with us. But they said that it's wrong to track people online. I'm like, wow. I mean, everybody else is doing it, dude. It's like the Russians are doing it.
And
the North Koreans are doing it.
Yeah.
Well, hold on. Let's not be like that. Amazon's doing it.
Amazon's doing it.
eBay's doing it.
And people these days, they know how to, they really want to opt out of that.
They can opt out.
It's really easy to opt out of tracking right now.
It's really easy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
as a culture, we've decided, yeah, that's okay. There's benefit to that.
There's a benefit.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
More
People
targeted
don't mind.
ads. Like, I'd rather be shown an ad of something that I might actually care about versus like a kid's toy. I don't have kids, so like,
Right.
I don't want.
Everybody wants relevance. Give it to me so it's personalized and relevant. Otherwise, it's just noise. So by allowing people to track your digital body language, you're allowing them to create a filter for you so that your digital experience is always better. That's why everybody loves Amazon, because they track you and then they recommend stuff that you want to buy. And you're like, yeah, this is great. And then it comes with a smile on the box. Thank you. To the people, and there's very few of them these days, thankfully, I've smushed them. To the people who say that it's wrong to track your supporters, I say, what are you talking about? You're tracking them all the time. In fact, you just paid for wealth screening. You're looking into their bank accounts, but it's not okay to track whether they click on your email. I don't
It
get
seems like
that.
stage one's more invasive than tracking their online usage.
Yeah, we're going to probe their innards and their financial records and, how many times they've been to prison. All right. No. Let's not go down that rabbit hole. Okay. So where were we? Two things, right? So we were talking about digital body language and verbatims. That's what creates the actionable data or the qualification information. And it can be done mostly without the fundraiser being involved. This is the trick. Ready? Newsflash. Use technology to do your donor discovery and qualification. Take your identified prospects, the overwhelming list that no matter how many scores you look at is still too much. Take that list, or if you don't buy that, skip it and just come to us and do the qualifications. You can skip the identification stage, frankly, and you can, through technology, go right to the qualification stage. How about that? Use that filter and qualify your caseload.
Yeah, and everything's a numbers game. All salespeople will know, and and the same applies for fundraising. What's your caseload? How should it be 200, 300? How big should a person be working with?
Okay, I love when people ask me questions, and then I say, it depends. But it Depends. Here's why it depends. If you're what I call the one-legged ass kicker, and by the way, we built out these marketing personas for the types of people that we sell. So not only do we qualify them, but we qualify them, we put them into buckets. No offense, fundraisers, my dear love, but you're in a bucket. Unless we've talked to you, in depth, you're probably in a bucket here in our data system. And one of our personas, one of the buckets we call the one-legged ass kicker. You know why?
No.
Because they're trying to win an ass-kicking contest, but they only have one leg, and it's not fair. In other words, these are the fundraisers that have to do more stuff is possible for any one human to be able to do.
They're putting on events while calling donors, while updating maybe the website. There are many hats.
I know some that even at VP level and doing all that you mentioned have to open up envelopes and deposit the checks. Right?
Oh, gosh.
So the one-legged ass kicker really can't have a big portfolio, right? So that's why I say it depends. That person, maybe they can only have 15 people on their portfolio, and they got to be super darn qualified to make it on their portfolio.
Yeah.
Right? The rest of the qualified prospects need to be cultivated, and that's why we invented the automated system for cultivation. But if you're working for a university, for instance, and there's 15 gift officers, you're probably going to want to start with, I have to give credit to Veritas Group because I didn't come up with this, but what they say is you probably need to start to qualify about 450 people. Okay, you're going to identify a lot more than that. You're going to kind of qualify 450. You're going to get it down to about 150. And then forgive me, Richard and Jeff, if I get these numbers right, but it's going to go something like this. 10 of the 150, maybe 20, are going to definitely talk to you and talk to you right away. And you can actually make some progress on getting towards the solicitation stage, right? Let's do 10, right? Then you got 40 that are going to be like, yeah, maybe sort of this, sort of that. And then you got to chase them a little bit. And then you finally get the meeting and you get them into the next stage and you get into cultivation, one-to-one cultivation, right? So now you're at 50. The other 100, I don't know. Some of them may move forward. Some of them may move back. A lot of them you may never even get on the phone. You may just never get them. They may show no interest whatsoever when you finally do get them on the phone. They just want to lurk. They want to give the way they want to give, nice and privately. They're not ready to have a one-to-one relationship with a human being. That's the thing. Maybe they're busy. Maybe their mom is sick and they're taking care of her and they don't have time for this right now. Maybe they're struggling in their business and they're trying. There's a whole bunch of reasons why. But out of that, you went from 450 to 150. Then you got those 10 and you got the other 40 and then you got the 100. What you really need to do is you need to refresh that 100 and add.
To try to identify more of the 10 and 40s.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And keep going.
And eventually you'll 10s, hopefully.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because if you can get a caseload of 150 of all, top prospects, you're going to be very busy and you're going to be generating massive revenues at very low cost.
And you're going to be happy because you're not going to be frustrated talking to people to take your call.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is your pool of donors who you will create lifelong relationships with if you don't hop to another job. But most of the time people are hopping the job there because they're not paid enough, or the big reason is they're not getting the support. See, if they got the support and they were given a system that helps them build a pool of 150 amazing human beings that want to give, and so that you're really just facilitating their giving rather than hunting all the time for people, then you would completely enjoy your job. You would never leave that job. You'd be making an impact on humanity, be facilitating that, and you'd be happy. But most organizations don't even understand anything that we're talking about in the leadership or the board level, and you could send them this podcast, and then they don't support the qualification stage. They might support the identification stage, maybe the cultivation stage, which is very tedious. Generally, they don't support that very well. They support the identification stage, and then they want you to just go to solicitation. But if they would support the qualification and the cultivation stages, and frankly, automate it,
Right.
Hello.
Yeah. So you don't need to be wasting your time doing that. part
No,
of it.
it's very time consuming and tedious. And if you can get that off of your shoulders so that you're building and refreshing a portfolio of highly qualified people who want to meet with you, this is the key thing. They want to work with you or through you to find meaning in their lives. If you can get that done, you'll be much happier. Much, much, much happier. Did I answer a question? I don't know.
I think so.
I always forget the questions.
I'm not sure where we start with that one.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Engagement Fundraising. If you like the show, make sure to review it on iTunes and pass along to a colleague. If you're curious about what we do, make sure to check out iMarketSmart.com and download the ultimate how-to guide for conducting nonprofit donor surveys found at iMarketSmart.com/survey report. That's www.iMarketSmart.com/survey report. We'll be back next Thursday for part 2 of this episode. Thanks for listening.